Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
Madam Speaker, I'll be splitting my time with the member for Drummond. Before I get into the substance of the bill that is going to be debated later on tonight, Madam Speaker, I would first like to thank the postal workers for their work. I remember as a young kid, actually, how excited I was when I went to the mailbox and that I saw mail in the box. And I was particularly excited whenever I found mail that had my name on it. I will never, ever forget that, and how important I think the postal workers are and the service in which they provide to all of us. And funny, you know, because I travel a lot in my job, I'm away from my children a lot. And so from time to time, when my kids were little especially, I would actually pop a letter, a card, or something into the mail in my children's name. And 2 years old, 3 years old, and they would get mail delivered to them in my own home. And sometimes the mail would arrive when I'm already home. But still, the delight in their eyes when they received that piece of package, that piece of letter, that card, was something else. And I think about the postal workers all the time, the work that they do and how hard it is. I don't anticipate any of us really know until we've walked in their shoes how hard their job is. I complain about carrying my bag and it's loaded up with stuff and then my shoulder hurts and my back aches. And I think about the postal workers every single day, no matter what the weather is like. They carry their mail carrier bag full of stuff and they go and deliver it to our homes. They're kind of like Santa Claus to me, really. That's what they do each and every day. So, Madam Speaker, and now as the Member of Parliament for Vancouver East, I absolutely rely on them to deliver my householders, my letters to my constituents, our 10%ers, as we call them, information for our constituents to let them know what we're doing, the mailbacks, the information that our constituents send back to us with their comments. This is what they do. And they play a critical role in assisting me in doing my job for all of us. That's who we're talking about today, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank them and tell them how much I appreciate them. And of course, with that appreciation, as a parliamentarian, I think that it is my role to ensure that their rights are not being trampled on. And yesterday and today, I sat in this House listening to speech after speech after speech from the Liberals, crying crocodile tears about how they don't want to wield the big hammer with their draconian back-to-work legislation for the Canada postal workers. Funny how each speech was a template of the same talking points, devoid of reflection on what the real issues are for postal workers and what they are fighting for. And funny how all Liberal members are somehow oblivious to the fact that when the government signaled 2 weeks ago that they would bring back-to-work legislation, that they would have actively undermined the essence of the collective bargaining process. And funny how even yesterday, when the Minister of Labour was confronted about how she stacked the deck against the workers in their right for better working conditions, that she said with a straight face that she and her government were on the side of workers. And there is no question that the Liberals set the stage for the back-to-work legislation on Thursday. With their motion, they spoke loudly and clearly to Canada Post management that there is no need to even show up at the bargaining table, that there is no need to bargain in good faith, that there is no need to listen to workers about their concerns regarding their working conditions. We've got your back. That is the message that the Liberals gave to management. And all management needs to do is to run the clock. That is the message that none of the Liberals would acknowledge is what's happening here. And for all the Liberals' talk about supporting workers and unions in Canada, what is clear with this bill that will be before this House just in a couple of hours, Madam Speaker, is that they don't give one whit about the rights of working people. that they don't give a toss about the working conditions of workers. As the Liberals stick it to the workers yesterday and this morning and today, they claim that they hope and dream optimistically that an agreement can be reached before enacting the legislation is nothing more than a joke, a slap in the face of Canada Post workers. The government members standing in the House repeatedly, and they said over and over again, they should actually feel the ears burning. Right now, at this moment, if they reflect on their actual actions and what it means and the ramifications for the workers, I do wonder how they will look at their letter postal carrier in the eye next time they receive their mail or package at their home or in their office. And so, to be here in this House today and listen to this phony optimism about supporting collective bargaining is insulting at best. What is at stake, one might ask? Why has this situation reached the point that it has today, Madam Speaker? Well, it starts with the unconstitutional legislation brought against Canada Post workers by the Harper government back in 2011 to force them back to work. Yeah, that's right. The Law and Order Conservatives violated Canadians' charter rights. That's what they did back in 2011. And to quote Justice Firestone, Harper's back to work legislation on the postal workers back to work in 2011 was found to, quote, substantially interfere and to disrupt the balance of a meaningful process of collective bargaining. And today, under the Liberals, this legislation that will be before the House shortly is doing exactly what the Liberals has done in 2011. And that is to substantially interfere and to disrupt the balance of a meaningful process of collective bargaining. The Liberal government likes to claim that they're doing something different today, but everyone sees it for what it is. The gigists putting their hand over their heart while wiping away their crocodile tears. It is up. Madam Speaker, everyone knows that the Liberals are stomping on the rights of workers. And in case the Liberals forgotten, the right to collective bargain is an essential component of the right of association, a protected right under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. With the charter rights having been trampled on by the Harper government, Canada Post workers have been bargaining in good faith to improve their working conditions today and for tomorrow, believing that this Liberal government would respect their right to do so. And what are they bargaining for, Madam Speaker? I received a letter from a postal worker, and here's what I learned. Did you know, Madam Speaker, for Canada Post workers, if you want to take a vacation or if you get sick or injured, you have to find someone to sort and deliver your route? That's correct. As an employee, if you are sick and injured, it is your job to find your own replacement. I want to know from the Liberals if any of them think it's reasonable that it is the postal workers' responsibility who has to find a worker to do their work if they are sick or injured. Similarly, outside workers for Canada Post are forced to do overtime. That means unless you have a medical documentation stating that you cannot do the overtime due to health reasons, you are forced to do the overtime or you will face disciplinary action. It doesn't matter that you may have a doctor's appointment. It doesn't matter that your child might be sick. It doesn't matter that you may have to pick up your child from daycare. You have no choice but to do the overtime or face disciplinary action. I want to know from the Liberal members, does that sound reasonable? And yes, postal workers have injury rates 4 times that of the national average, Madam Speaker. How awful it is that the postal workers want better working conditions, eh? How dare they put pressure on the employer with these demands with the rotational strike? And by the way, postal workers want to improve services and standards to the public by expanding Canada Post retail services, delivery hours, banking, and internet. Yes, in some communities, they don't even have access to banking service. Canada Post can fulfill that need. That's what they're bargaining for. Why is this government not allowing that to happen? Why is this government allowing for the working conditions to continue to deteriorate and not ensure every single worker can go home healthy from a safe working environment? That's my question to the government today.